Samson Mow expects the Bitcoin price to hit $1 million per coin. He says that can happen as soon as days or weeks after the approval of spot Bitcoin ETFs. So let's break this down along with his most latest tweets. As I mentioned earlier, he's making big moves. Not only Bitcoin adoption in this other country we mentioned here by the name of Suriname, as he's orange pilling their presidents, but also he's making big moves. Colombia. Let's go. Colombia has a population of over 50 million people. Suriname has a population of over 600,000 people and is also the neighboring country to Brazil, which has a massive population of over 200 million people. So let's freaking go. Which country do you feel will likely adopt Bitcoin next as a legal tender? Let me know in the live chat. He also recently tweeted, "We will see a seismic shift to Bitcoin and sound money. The next 5 years will be incredible. Guatemala, 2023. Argentina, 2023. The Bitcoin halving scheduled to take place in April of next year. El Salvador, we've already adopted Bitcoin here as a legal tender. Panama, 2024. Mexico, 2024. Shout out Ricardo Salinas. Canada in 2025, but it could be 2023 or 2024. Peru, 2026. And Nicaragua, 2026. Fix the money, fix the world." Preach. He also shared here, it has come to my attention, there are some Bitcoiners that don't think Bitcoin can reach $1 million per coin in a matter of days or weeks after the ETF money starts to flow in. They are in for a pleasant surprise. And then you can see the comments are hilarious. You should change your name to Samson Moon now. You know what I mean? So, he has some other really good tweets here. Reminder, the ETF approvals will unlock a tidal wave of capital influx into Bitcoin. Pair that with the multiplier effect, and you do get to $1 million per Bitcoin. Now, I also want to share a throwback. This was recently 8 days ago, he shared that tweet. And then he reminded us that he shared a tweet December 3rd of 2021, the previous bull cycle. Approval of a spot Bitcoin ETF would send Bitcoin to $1 million per coin over a few days. Gary Gensler and the SEC don't want to be the ones responsible for sending Bitcoin to the moon. Again, this was years ago he shared this, and it holds true even to today. And he was responding to Tom Emmer's tweet, the congressman who shared on December 3rd. Gary Gensler, I am still waiting on your response to our November 3rd letter, asking you to make sense of why Bitcoin future ETFs are allowed to trade, but not Bitcoin spot ETFs. So this is nothing new. Gary has been playing this game with us now for years. He is the only man standing in the way preventing us from the spot Bitcoin ETF with currently 13 applications on his desk. So let's break down this $1 million price prediction from Samson Mow, shall we? Here you go. And let's start it right here. He wrote this just recently, November 24th on Twitter. If you think I'm crazy for a $1 million Bitcoin, please meet Hal. He's referring to Hal Finney, who is responsible for the very first Bitcoin transaction, and some believe him to be Satoshi. Quoting Hal Finney here, as an amusing thought experiment, imagine that Bitcoin is successful and becomes the dominant payment system in use throughout the world. Then the total value of the currency should be equal to the total value of all the wealth in the world. Current estimates of the total worldwide household wealth that I have found range from 100 trillion to $300 trillion. And with 20 million coins, that gives us each a value of about $10 million per Bitcoin. So the possibility of generating coins today with a few cents of computational power and time may be quite a good bet, with the payoff of something like 100 million to 1. Even if the odds of Bitcoin succeeding to this degree are slim, are they really 100 million to 1 against? Something to think about. So there you have it. Hal Finney was calling for a $10 million Bitcoin price before the inception of Bitcoin. How lit is that? Now, Mow stated that those who believe 1 million per Bitcoin is a crazy price should read what Hal Finney wrote and what I just shared with you out loud. Many firmly believe that it was Finney who had hidden behind the synonym of Satoshi Nakamoto, going under the radar since 2010, leaving his invention in the hands of the community. Then Finney passed away in 2014 from consequences of lateral sclerosis, if I'm pronouncing that right. In the message cited by Mow, Finney assumes that if in the future Bitcoin becomes a dominant payment system in the world, the price of one coin can soar to $10 million per coin. And speaking of some math, here's a Bitcoin expert unveiling the math behind the Bitcoin price prediction. Let's break this one down for you. I believe this is right here. Further elaborating his prediction, Mow referenced Bitcoin's historical growth. In 2017, it took 9 months for Bitcoin to go from $1,000 to $20,000. The block subsidy was 12.5. There was a lot more Bitcoin sloshing around on the exchanges. Mining was boiling the oceans, and there was zero institutional money. That's right, there was no institutional adoption or no hype from institutions back then. And Bitcoin went from 1,000 to 20,000, which is 20x. So next we go from 50,000 to 1 million. That's just another 20x. Nothing we haven't done before. And considering we've already hit 69,000 as the all-time high, keep that in mind. Now, let me know your thoughts surrounding some of this math. And I'm gonna actually break down our next segment right here, where Samson Mow says the SEC will approve all the Bitcoin ETFs like all in one shot. He was recently interviewed and asked some good questions. I'm just going to read some of the questions and answers for you here. Do you think Kennedy, referring to RFK Jr., has a chance to win the election? He said, I would say so. And as you know, he is a pro-Bitcoin candidate. He says, independent candidates have never won, but I think Bobby's defection from the Democratic Party and the fact he has tapped into the zeitgeist, he has really captured the imagination of the people that are frustrated with the two-party system, where nothing seems to ever change. Let me know if you agree or disagree, and who will you be voting for president in 2024? Let me know. Next question, do you think the public debate puts pressure on the SEC regarding the approval of the pending spot ETFs? He says, I think the SEC has already enough pressure from Congress and from BlackRock. One thing that people don't really understand is that it's not Larry Fink and BlackRock that want the ETF, it's their institutional clients that want it. Their customers are putting pressure on them to get it. And there, he makes a good point. Next question, the growing relevance of Bitcoin in the US is also demonstrated by the hash rate. Significant shares are in the hands of large publicly traded and therefore extensively regulated mining farms and mining pools. Could this be a risk? Well, I don't think it's ideal. It'd be better if the hash rate was more decentralized. And note, yesterday I shared breaking news, Jack Dorsey working on a decentralized Bitcoin miner. It would be better if the US only had a 20-25% portion of the hash rate. Right now they're getting 40%. Sometimes the US, while it's governed by a stronger rule of law, might represent a danger simply because they want compliance with the existing financial system. Now he asked, could this be a risk to Bitcoin's fungibility? I don't think so, he said. I think there is a censorship risk that they'll try to block transactions, but ultimately, if they try to do that, they'll limit their own profitability because they'll need to go to a blacklist and check that before processing any transaction, and other pools in other countries will have the advantage. Now, next up, he was asked, the goal of your company, Jan3, is to promote Bitcoin adoption at the state level. Do you see potential in Africa, especially on the mining side? Here's what he shared. There is potential in decentralizing the hash rate and getting more into Africa, but the challenge is Africa, there is just not that much power to begin with. So you might incentivize creation of new power generation sites, like maybe small hydro dams, but it's never going to compete at the same scope as the mega infrastructure projects in the United States, the ones starting to emerge in Latin America and possibly other places. So Africa might end up building a significant chunk of the hash rate by creating new power sources. The challenge is their new power sources, they're not tapping into excess existing energy. So I guess there's lack of volcanoes out there, fam. Now when asked, what is the most promising country in the future in terms of Bitcoin adoption? And here's what he shared. I think there are a few. Panama, let's go. He says it's interesting. They don't have a central bank, so they can do something relatively quick. There is one candidate we have connections to, and if he wins the elections, then we can talk about Bitcoin. And I said Indonesia is also interesting. Again, a massive population in Indonesia, fam. Ridwan Kamil is the governor of West Java, and I think he'll be running for vice president. He understands Bitcoin. He understands the potential for mining to transform the country. So that's another big interesting place for us to look at. And I think Argentina is also one because Javier Milei. I think there will be changes afoot, large-scale changes, and we have to direct that change towards Bitcoin. I think he is going to dollarize, but we want him to dollarize and Bitcoinize. So there you have it. My crypto fam, which countries do you feel likely will adopt Bitcoin next as the legal tender? And do you feel realistically that Bitcoin has the potential to reach $1 million per coin as soon as days or weeks after the approval of the spot Bitcoin ETF? And when those trillions start ushering in into the King crypto, please let me know.